Uh, All right. Well, welcome everyone to our September Some Ventures Band of Angels monthly screening meeting. I'm really happy all of you could join us. As I think I know pretty much everyone on the call. I do see a couple of new faces. I did do a LinkedIn post, so sometimes we have some new fresh faces that sign on and join us. So I asked if you uh, later on, if we haven't met before, I'll try and uh, welcome everyone as we go through the evening. But tonight's format's pretty simple. We're gonna do a couple of brief portfolio updates. I'm gonna share a little bit of news from what's gone on since the last time we met, and then we're gonna jump into some presentations. We do have a little bit of an interesting group of presenters tonight, in that one of the companies actually is on the cusp of raising capital, and we're working through the terms, but this is a pretty interesting opportunity. Every once in a while, I want to flag a company uh, that I think may really start taking off quickly, just to make sure everyone's aware of it in case the train starts leaving the station quickly between now and next month's meeting, so that everyone can have some exposure or some familiarity with the company. And hopefully we can get these terms ironed out, and I can share with everyone once that happens. And then in the case of another founder who's presenting, we've previously invested in one of the companies, and there's some pretty interesting news. I don't want to step too much on Jerome's opportunity to talk and share about what's going on with Lynx Bio, but we'll likely have only really two companies at the end of the evening that we have to decide in the short term between moving forward with the ban. But it's, I think, going to be a great night all the way around. Um, so let's see what else. What have I forgotten to share? So it's the format. We're going to do 10-minute presentation followed by 10 minutes of Q&A. I'm going to do my very best to let the founders know, kind of as we're coming up on that 10-minute mark. I'm not going to cut you off right at 10 minutes if you go a little bit longer, but it will just cut into the Q&A time, because I'm going to try my best to run a tight ship here, and keep us to the time allotted, so that everyone gets their full 20 minutes to present and field questions. All right. Well, with that, I think that I'm going to hand it over real quick to one of our Some Ventures portfolio founders who previously presented. That's Logan Spears, who's the founder and CEO of Tensa. And for those who are recalled, Tensa is revolutionizing the way in which we can train for tennis by essentially reinventing the ball machine using computer vision and AI. And Logan's had some exciting developments. It's amazing how quickly he's moved over the past few months in getting this. It's a really complex problem solved. So, Logan, if you want to take the floor now and share an update, then that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Garrett. I have a short PowerPoint if you could enable sharing.
That would probably be a good idea. Let's make that happen. There you go. Ready to go.
All right, and I will move into presenter view here. All right, hopefully you all can see that. So as a reminder, I'm with Tensa. We are building a AI-powered tennis ball machine. Tensa can be thought of as the Peloton of tennis. Combines a modern hardware and software platform with cutting-edge AI to make a 10x user experience improvement that people will pay for. Tensa can enable things never before possible on a tennis court, and eventually pickleball and other racket sports, such as dynamic simulated play against a machine. You can even call out the score, gamified drills for systematic skill development, and automatic coaching. Looking at our Q4, kind of the key takeaways is we're finishing a manufactural unit, and I'll kind of get into that. We are doing our first marketing blitz, acquiring pre-sales, and hoping to begin taking people's money at the start of next year, or the start of the beginning of next year. We've developed our latest design in conjunction with our industrial designer. It has the camera array at the top, so you can see all around the tennis court and know what's happening, both from what the player is hitting as well as where the machine is moving. And we have kind of branding, a touch screen, and even a rubber pad to make it more comfortable to load the balls. The mobile app is being developed in parallel, and this is coming along very quickly. This will enable users to kind of personalize their experience with drills, etc. Our AI efforts are doing really advanced technology. So, for example, we can, with a single camera view, compute the 3D trajectory of the tennis ball and where it lands. This is similar in nature to Hawkeye, if you're familiar with tennis stadiums, except that uses 8 simultaneous high-speed cameras that is $100,000 setup. We're doing it with just as an added feature on our ball machine. This is kind of the skeleton, the internals of the device. We just converted over from AC to DC power so they can run off the lithium ion batteries. And I'm going to show kind of what this is looking like on the court. So this is a drill being run. This is showing the machine moving, operating autonomously, and feeding a series of 3 balls. You probably can't hear the sound here. I'll play that again shortly. And that is me practicing a drill that's not possible with current ball machines or anything on the market today, where you have a combination of shot selection as well as movement to create a dynamic simulated play, all AI powered. And that is my short update. Thank you, Garrett.
Awesome. Thanks for the update, Logan. I tell you what, if there's one burning question out there in the audience, or maybe 2, I'll give if anyone wants to chime in, we'll make sure you can. Well, let's do. Is there a question? We'll see. Anyone have anything, or you can reach out to Logan directly in the chat if Stender, you look like you're leaning in. Is that a face of a question? No, I missed.
Off of mute. I guess maybe I do have a question. Did I hear the cost of that machine? What's it going to cost to the user?
Yeah, so the current projected BOM cost at scale is $7,000. We're doing a leasing model with clubs, though, so we're going to lease it to clubs.
Okay, so if you do that lease, what's it going to cost them on a monthly basis?
So we the lease to the club itself, we're projecting between $1,000 and $1,500 a month. For an average person at the club, maybe $50 a month, something like that in dues.
Oh, yeah, good. Thank you.
I think this is a great example too of kind of our approach and our thought behind how we like to approach early stage investing. Is, you know, we made an early bet on Logan and on Tensa, but more so than the capital that we put into the company. Really happy to see Raj, who's recently joined our fund, and I think he'll be able to be on video a little bit later, but he's actively been supporting Tensa behind the scenes with support from Siemens. So Raj recently retired after leading I think more M&A than anyone in the history of Siemens, and working on a variety of capacities at Siemens, but really it was amazing to see how quickly he was able to get such a large company to take interest in Tensa and provide some software support. And Raj, I don't want to call on you when you're off video, but maybe later on in the evening you can share a little bit about. Oh, there you're back. Okay.
No, I was always back.
Okay. Great. Well, if I could hand it over to you for a quick minute, and if you'd share just with the group a little bit about the recent meeting that you guys had with Logan, and the next steps that you're taking, that'd be great.
In short, Siemens committed to giving software, design software, engineering and manufacturing software, collaboration software, links with supplier software for free for a year, for use by Tensa. And then after the year, it's a nominal kind of user fee. But more importantly, Siemens will help Tensa in 2 areas. Number one, is help them find in the ecosystem of machinery builders in Mexico, Brazil, US, so that they can make a direct collaboration with the suppliers of various subsystems. Subsequently, we are going to help Tensa integrate simulation to do an optimization between weight of the machine and performance. So using mathematical simulation. Now, hopefully, it will not stop there. There is much more sophistication in simulation that can be adopted by Tensa over the next couple of years. And we'll be in sync with as the market begins to accept the machine. The whole idea, the end state is that as the human being hits the ball back, there is a closed loop with a mathematics model of the machine, and it correlates the performance of the human being, and the machine gets smarter. And over time, the machine will get much more smarter as it learns usage parameters and usage data. So that's what I think we can have. Siemens can help.
Great. Well, I know I'm thrilled. That and thankful that Siemens is helping our portfolio companies, and just actually had the chance to have a dinner with Carlos from Siemens last night, and I know that there are other companies that we're going to collaborate on in the future. So I also want to just thank Adam from UpTech, and we've got to just who's actively supporting UNEST right now, and we've just as the night goes on and I see different faces, there are a number of you are working and supporting not just our fund, but more importantly our portfolio companies, and really appreciate the community that we're building here of support around these founders. All right, Sonia, I did want to give you a minute or two to just share a little bit about your latest developments and the group that I couldn't believe the participation you got in your first meeting the other day. So why don't you take it away and share just a little bit real quick.
Thank you, Garrett. Wonderful to be here. When I was at the Band of Angels, these meetings were the highlight of the month for me and continue to be so. So thank you so much for all your work in supporting founders early and believing in them. I was with the Band of Angels for the past 8 years, and delighted that Ashley, who was my previous colleague at the Keiretsu Forum, took over the torch and is doing a fantastic job at the band. And I moved to Miami to join the University of Miami and create a network of angel investors that are related with the university to invest in startups that are related with the university. And so in the last 3 months, I focused on foundational work around our founding members and deal flow. We have 30 members that joined, and last week we had our kickoff meeting, which had great participation with the 3 presenting companies. Very big on syndication. We also were able to refer a deal to the band. Von Vascular just presented to the dinner yesterday, where one of the professors at the university is the chief medical officer. And so looking forward to syndicating, collaborating. The startups we work with currently do need to have some connection with the university in the form of alumni or a professor being on the founding team. But as our membership grows, also startups that have been supported or funded by members of the King Angel Network would qualify as having the connection. So look forward to continuing to have a bridge both with the Valley and the Los Angeles, and the band is very close to my heart. So I am thrilled to be still part of our ecosystem and participate. Thank you, Garrett.
I muted myself. It's great to have you on, Sonia. So a couple other just quick updates so I don't forget. I will be able to share a little bit more specifics on some of this news, but I do want to highlight a little bit that happened in the past few weeks. A company, which I'll be able to share the name next month, received that previously presented just last year that we invested in through our fund, received a term sheet from Andreessen Horowitz just last week at about a 3x markup from where we invested last year. So I don't think you'll have to ask me. I'm pretty good about sharing some of the successes, and I'm actually pretty good about sharing the stumbles too with the group. We have a pretty transparent group here, but that's definitely one that's I'm excited to share more about in the next month when it's public information. So stay tuned on that front. Additionally, we have an exit that I think I shared a little bit about perhaps in the last meeting or that was on the horizon. I don't get to name the company just yet, but within a few weeks, you'll see an announcement. It'll be our first exit as a fund, and really excited to be able to. It was a bit of a surprise, a pleasant surprise, only 2 years after our investment, and that company also presented at this meeting, and that exit's going to be at a nice markup and a very good IRR for our investors and those angels that participate in the company as well. Additionally, we have for those who should probably check their spam folder if you didn't receive the invitation directly, but we're actually having a celebration thanks to Harry Hopper, who's normally on this call, but he's on a flight right now, so he couldn't join us. But his wife graciously signed off on us letting us throw a celebration party at his home a week from Saturday up in Malibu. So if you're an LP in the fund, you have an invitation either in your inbox or in your spam folder, and I'm going back through and double checking with everyone and making sure that you have those invites. So please ping me if for some reason you did not get that invitation, and trying to extend it beyond just our LP network too. But we have to keep some constraints in mind about how many people we can have show up, and we're going to have a number of founders attend that as well. Last but certainly not least, we have our latest inflection fund, which is wrapping up now. We're in the final stretch of raising capital around the inflection fund, and really the purpose of the inflection fund is to really double down on our winners. And we have selected about 10 portfolio companies that we have allocation in more often than not at comparable terms to when we initially invested, where we think, these companies are hitting inflection points. And if you're interested in learning more about that fund, I'd be more than happy to find time and share that with you. And thanks to Cal, I just had the chance to present to his Tiger 21 network here recently, and I think that presentation went pretty darn well, and we've got a lot of inbound interest, and I know many of you have shared the fund with your networks as well. So thank you for that. All right, I know I'm already running behind here, so I'm gonna do a better job of calling on people between presentations for updates and whatnot, but we want to make sure we hand things over to Jerome. For those who have been with us for years, they got a chance to see Jerome present. Gosh, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago now. It was actually pre-COVID. We invested in Lynx Bio. Lynx Bio has just been an incredible story, watching her progress from a PhD program up in Wisconsin to building this company down in San Diego. And she's going to get to share updates on what they've been up to, and as well as some partnership interests. So I'll hand it over to her and let her take it away.
Thank you, Garrett, for that introduction. And I think it was exactly pre-COVID. I remember we were joking about hand sanitizers at this meeting. Everybody was still kind of lightly joking about, the impending doom that was coming up. And then I think about a couple weeks later, everything shut down.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a testament to you that you persisted through COVID and still built your company. So that's not an easy task that you accomplished there.
It was a very unusual time for biotech, especially because a lot of what we do has to be done in person. So it was definitely interesting, but we've made it through, and I'm happy to present some updates as well as a couple of opportunities that have come up for Lynx. Let me just find my presentation. people's faces. Okay. All right. So I actually recognize a few of the names on the call. So Mike Krebs is also an investor of ours from the Pasadena Angels. So we've got quite a bit of investment from Pasadena Angels, Tech Coast Angels, and obviously Garrett and a few other folks. So we've been lucky to have such great supporters. For those of you who I have not yet met, my name is Trom Pak. I'm the founder and CEO of Lynx Bio. Technically, the whole name is Lynx Biosciences, but we go by Lynx Bio for short. As Garrett mentioned, we are headquartered in San Diego. And what we did was we built a technology platform that really dives into complex disease biology. So for example, like cancer, to be able to deeply understand what drives these different diseases and pioneer the next generation of therapeutic development. This is quite an evolution from where the company started. And as Garrett alluded to, the technology platform did spin out from my PhD. I didn't spin out the company right away. I did do a short postdoc, and then I led research on clinical development at a radiotherapeutics company, but the technology platform is obviously very close to me and what I do. So a bit about our team. As I mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO. I worked closely with Benjamin Titz at that radiotherapeutics company where he was part of the corporate strategy team. When I spun out Lynx, he came along with me. Jose Maracas is our CTO. He was the founding CEO and president of a company here in San Diego called NanoSelect. They developed a microfluidic cell sorting company, technology rather, that is now globally commercializing. So it's doing pretty well. I'm not going to go into great detail about the remainder of our team just for the sake of time. I will call out one person, Sylvan Kaz. She's been a big cheerleader of our company for a long time, actually around the same time Garrett invested. So she used to be the former VP of Oncology Strategic Partnering at J&J. And when she was there, we actually worked with her to sign a collaboration agreement with J&J. And since then, she's become a free agent. She's now the CBO of a company called Appia, but she's also joined our board of directors. This is our scientific advisory board. Again, I'm not going to go through everybody, but as you can probably see on the screen, we're supported by a number of really great folks who have extensive expertise in immuno-oncology, antibody discovery, cell therapies, technology development, like Charlie Silver, he was the founder and CEO of Mission Bio, which is probably 10x Genomics' biggest competitor. So we're really lucky to have these folks around us. So jumping a little bit into why we built what we did and really the need that we address. And I think this is something that will probably resonate with everybody. We have a very strong focus in oncology. And the reason for that is there are many different types of cancers, and we've come a long way in being able to treat these diseases. And there have been quite a few clinical successes for some cancers and for some patients. However, we still have a long way to go to be able to bring those successes to more patients and other cancer types. And some of the key issues lie with durable efficacy, so really a long-term response to these therapeutics, as well as either being primary resistant to these therapeutics or becoming resistant to these therapeutics. So these are some of the challenges that we're working to address alongside of our technology development, but also with our strategic partners. What we believe is really missing here is a key data link. So as we know, I think there's a saying around the more we learn, the more we realize what we don't know. And I think that is very much the case with the increasing R&D research that has been around cancer biology. And the more we learn, the more we realize just how complex it is, that there are key aspects of this dynamic, complex cancer biology that remain uncharted. So to us, that means we need to develop technologies to better understand that complex biology. So we built a technology platform that does exactly that. It generates massive, what we call multimodal data sets that really comprehensively capture the dynamic nature of cancer. It's living, it's constantly evolving, that's derived from much more relevant cellular live models. to be able to identify new ways to build new therapeutics or improve therapeutics that are already in existence. A little bit more about that technology platform. We've named it Lynx Rufus. It's actually named after the bobcat in California. And there are several key aspects to this technology platform. So on one hand, it is a physical device. It employs a technology called microfluidics, and it's what allows us to really start from the patient. If you really want to dive into the complexity of cancer, you really want to embrace that. And that's really starting with the patient. So by using patient biopsies, we can use our microfluidic device to be able to recreate their cancer on a miniaturized scale. And from here, we can then move towards generating new insights. We can derive data sets using this device to be able to understand their biology on a deeper level. So one of the key ways we do this is through imaging. And this is essentially taking a picture of their cancer cells, everything that surrounds it, how it's moving, how they're interacting, how they're behaving, how they're responding to different cancer types, what do they look like, how are they changing over time. So we can essentially take pictures or we can take videos. Alongside of that, we can simultaneously generate additional highly multiplex data sets to look into how they're communicating with each other. We can also generate data like sequencing using DNA or RNA. And that's really what allows us to tie everything together and understand why they behave a certain way and be able to understand the mechanisms that cause them to behave this way. We've come a long way, not just in the technology development, but also understanding how this fits into the ecosystem and really understanding, the needs of biopharma and biotech in cancer drug development. So we've been fortunate to be able to strategically partner with a number of great companies, some of which are shown here. And over the last couple of years, have been able to generate over $3 million in revenues. So that wasn't really a key focus of the company. It wasn't necessarily to generate revenues. It was more to really understand, where does the technology platform fit in? What kind of value does this provide? And we've been really, really fortunate to have it resonate with a number of different companies in the space. And it's really due to those partnerships that we had a couple of interesting opportunities that came up. What's great about this technology platform and why we believe it resonates so strongly is it can be employed across the entire drug discovery and development process. So starting from the very early stages from preclinical, we can use the technology platform to accelerate the advancement of the best lead therapeutic candidates. We can also utilize it in the manufacturing process to make sure your therapeutic is consistent and streamlined production process. And in the clinical trial stage, we can use it to predict patient responsiveness to improve clinical trial outcomes. And actually, the best place to use it is this last part, which actually should come up front. It's an area called reverse translation. And this is something that is coming up more and more, where pharma and other biotech companies are using patients, either from clinical trials or patient biopsies, to gain insight into their complex biology, to really understand what drives that complex biology, to be able to identify new therapeutic targets, so we can now go back to the beginning and develop new therapeutic assets against those. And then from there, we can utilize the platform all throughout the drug discovery and development process. So for the sake of time, I tried to keep this really short and not dive too much into the science. I wanted to focus a little bit more on where we are now and the opportunities that have come up. So Garrett didn't really talk to this too much, but we're actually in discussions with several biotech and pharma. A number of them are the folks that we have partnered with so far, and they're familiar with the company for potential merger and or acquisitions. One of the most advanced discussions we have ongoing is with a key partner from a previous collaboration. We're in the process of drafting a MOU term sheet with them, and that merger would create a therapeutics company with a powerful combined technology platform, as well as preclinical therapeutic assets. So that's just one of the discussions we have ongoing. We have several others that are extremely promising as well and pretty far along. So at this stage, we are actually, this is going to happen with one of these discussions that's ongoing. So at this stage, we've opened a bridge to exit. We're raising up to $1 million to cover minimal core operating costs and aim to maintain a clean balance sheet until this transaction is completed. So the key terms that are around this bridge to exit is it comes with a 2x liquidation preference, a 20% discount, and it comes in the form of a SAFE, which is a little bit unusual, but it's a simple vehicle. And it does come with the option to convert into senior debt at the time of change of control, if this is what SAFE holders will choose to do, because in a waterfall calculation, depending on what the exit looks like, debt will come first. So this was something that we made sure to put in because this is the last investment vehicle for the company. We have about 340,000 in from Work Ventures, who is at this point our largest investor, as well as other current investors. We do have additional interest from current and new investors as well, but we'd love to talk more with folks who might be interested at this stage of the company, and would be interested to learn a little bit more. So if you are, please contact me. My email is pretty straightforward. It's cpac@lynx.bio. Happy to answer any questions, dive into any part of the business, but at this point, I'll pause and see if there are any questions.
Well, thanks so much for the presentation. I'll just add that we're definitely leaning in from our fund as well and participating. We have a little bit more work from a diligence standpoint to do, but we're gonna work to expedite that. But I really wanted to make sure that we shared with the group, given the likely limited time window. This is one that's probably not going forward with screening with any groups because of the length of time it takes to go through screening and then present at a dinner in the future months probably is not gonna work out necessarily. But I'm happy to include anyone who expresses interest on the diligence call and our follow-up work that we're going to do through some ventures too. So again, thanks for the presentation. Let's get questions for Sharon.
I had a quick question, Garrett. Oh, well, my quick question was, why exit so early? I'm just curious, and thank you, Jerome, for the presentation.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. And as a biotech company, at our stage and the type of company that we are, there are a couple of options, and we came to the conclusion that this is the best opportunity for current Lynx Bio shareholders, as well as the ability to continue to generate value in a, I would say, exponential manner by combining with another type of technology platform. And the other discussions that we're in right now are companies that have asset generating platforms. So the ability to create therapeutic assets. We would identify the biology that they can then generate the therapeutics against. So the reason that we decided to move forward with this is, one, because we do have several interested parties to move forward in this manner. The second is, if you think about our options, we're a platform technology company, or technology platform company. And so there's a couple of ways that we can move forward. If we continue to move forward as a company, all of our investors, new investors that we were speaking with, expressed a very high preference that we go towards being a therapeutics company. So we can choose to do that, but that if we were to choose to do that on our own, we would get deemed extremely early. We would be only judged by the maturity of our therapeutic pipeline, and that would, I believe, at best, dilute the current shareholders greatly. It could obviously lead to a much potentially larger exit in the future, but who knows what that might look like, and I believe that can be a pretty risky outcome. So that was the other path forward for us as a company. It wasn't completely out of the question, but it was certainly a much riskier path and something that was not certain in the current biotech landscape. And the fact that we had so many interested parties to merge with, these are folks that we know really well. We know that the merged company would be successful together. So it made sense to move forward in this direction.
Okay, and the M&A, the goal is to close Q1 2025. And what is the goal to close the bridge to exit? Is it obviously before 2025?
Yeah, it's gonna be in like the next 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
It's pretty quick. And there may be some flexibility on that depending on where we are, but the discussions are moving forward fairly quickly. A large part of that is because it's heading towards end of year. And especially for some of the larger companies we're in discussions with, that's actually good timing to wrap this up as quickly as possible because they need to use their budget by the end of the year. So there is a good chance this will close earlier than Q1 next year, but it depends on the company, as well as I'm learning way too much about taxes, but there are some tax implications that may make it either beneficial to close at the end of the year versus early next year.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Just a few academic questions.
Sure.
What is the dispensation of the key founders?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The key founders of the company, how do you guys join the new company, or
That's all under negotiation. It's going to be, it'll likely be different depending on who the other party ends up being. There will very much likely be a transition period at minimum because in order to integrate the company with the other party. I'm actually a sole founder, which is got its pros and cons. But I will stay with the merged company for at least a short while to ensure a smooth transition and make sure that there is a viable path successfully moving forward. So with this partner that we are drafting the MOU with, everything is under negotiation right now, but I'm likely to at minimum join the board and take on a leadership position to ensure that the company is successful moving forward.
okay? And the delivery of the therapeutic, is it individualized or it is applied to a certain type of oncological issue?
So it's now more specific to the type of therapeutic modality and how it might perform in certain disease indications. So we started off pretty strongly in blood cancers, and they come with their own unique challenges. But for example, there may be some difficulties in understanding why some therapeutics work in some patients and why they don't in others, and being able to understand those mechanisms for that group of resistant patients allows us to develop new therapeutics that will address that group. So it's not necessarily individualized for very individual patients, but it's for addressing specific groups of patients in that setting. In the solid cancer setting, we were in discussions with a partner to help them develop a therapeutic path to really understand how they can better penetrate through what's called the extracellular matrix to be able to reach the cancer. So depending on the cancer type and the therapeutic that's being developed, we can utilize the technology platform in different ways.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just because, unfortunately, due to our timing, we're going to have to move any additional questions over to chat. So, Trom, I'd ask you share your contact info if you haven't already in the chat window, and then maybe stick around just for a little bit in case anyone wants to reach out and ask you a question directly. And thank you again so much for making the time. Oh, one last thing, if you could just recap, when the terms from when we invested and what the latest price round was done at, that'd be helpful for the group.
So the previous price round was a seed round a couple of years ago, and the post-money valuation of that was a little over 20 million.
And when you first presented to the group?
And when we presented to the group, that was just right before that. I believe it was a convertible note that you invested into that converted at the equity round. So I can look into that again, but
if memory serves me right, it was done around an 8 million cap. or 8, maybe 10. It was in that I remember high-fiving over the markup. So thank you for that, and thank you for
Yeah, there was definitely a markup.
yes. So thanks for that, and yeah, and we'll stick around in the chat, please. So all right, so briefly, we had an old friend who many of you know and have participated in his events, wasn't able to sign on at the beginning. We had a link issue. I want to hand things over for just a quick 2 minutes to Max Shapiro, just to share about an upcoming AI event that he's hosting, and then we're going to move on with the presentations, just so everyone can be aware of other great events that are happening soon. Max, are you with us?
I am, Garrett. Thank you very much for the opportunity to tell everybody about an event that we're running next Wednesday on the 25th at Expert Dojo. It's going to be an Pitchforce AI conference and pitch. We're going to have 10 companies, all AI companies, pitching to investors. It's free for companies to pitch, and of course, it's free for investors to attend. We'd love to have people there who are looking for opportunities in the AI space. By way of background, Garrett and I did many events prior to COVID in the LA area, alternating between Santa Monica and DTLA, and pleased to be back with our first live pitch event in Santa Monica. It's going to be at Expert Dojo, as I mentioned. And we've been doing events for 12 years, and Pitchforce has. We had a big AI conference in San Francisco a couple of months ago with 80 investors there and 27 companies pitching. We're going to have a smaller crowd at Expert Dojo, but we've got about 15 investors coming, and we're going to have 15 companies pitching. So if anybody knows any companies that want to pitch free of charge, next Wednesday, the 25th at Expert Dojo, please let us know. And the easiest way to reach me is max@peopleconnectstaffing.com. Or if you'd like to text me, my number is 415-505-7444. That's 415-505-7444. And I know there are a lot of people on this call who I've had the pleasure of knowing throughout the years, and hopefully you can join us. And once again, max@peopleconnectstaffing.com, 415-505-7444. Just text me and say, hey, I'd like to come. We'll get you signed up. And if you know any companies, have them contact us as well. Garrett, thanks for the opportunity to talk to everybody, and continued good luck and success to Some Ventures and the Band of Angels.
Thanks so much, Max. I'll be sure to drop your contact info in the chat as well, along with the link to the event. So we'll make sure everyone I'll get that up here in just a couple minutes for everyone. And
appreciate it.
And I owe a lot to Max for his support and mentorship as we were first starting to hustle around LA and really build out the ecosystem. And he's and great events. I encourage everyone to attend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, we've got Noah up, and one of the great things about this monthly meeting is that you get to see pre-seed, you get to see seed, you get to, in some cases, some Series A opportunities. And Noah is someone I got to know years ago, and while he was still a student athlete, actually, and he's leveraged his business acumen and the work he did in venture to actually launch his own venture. And we get to hear about well, actually, let me pause for just a second there. I think that there's a really an important transition for those who have followed professional sports over the past few years, especially, where you're seeing the athlete saying, you know what, I'm more than an athlete, I'm a business person as well. And they're leveraging their following, and they're leveraging the experience that they've had and the opportunities they have and the brand that they've built to make an impact in the business community. And Noah's identified a tremendous opportunity, in my opinion, to give these athletes a greater voice and help them scale their brands. And he's just getting started with athletes and assets, and I'm excited for him to be able to share more with all of you today. So Noah, why don't you take it away?
Sure, Garrett. Thank you so much again. I know late notice here, but I appreciate everyone's time and attention here. It's 5:51 on the West Coast. I will try to wrap up this at 5:56. I'll try to do 4 or 5 minutes and just share quickly what I'm doing. And so I have a deck, I have a whole presentation. I think for the purpose of this meeting, and so it's late notice and I don't know any of you guys personally, I would love to spend this time, if it was okay, Garrett, kind of explaining my background, and you guys can know me, myself, my background, and what we're doing. And then happy to answer any questions. And if people want to see visuals, more than happy to share kind of what we have. My name's Noah. I'm born and raised in Houston, Texas. I had the privilege of playing basketball for Santa Clara University in the Bay Area. And Garrett, as Garrett mentioned, the past couple of years, I've had a blend of back office, financial, legal, operational, venture capital, and startup experience. But now I'm the founder of a company called Athletes and Assets. And what we're building at Athletes and Assets is a giant business media network ran by athletes. So before I start talking about it, in the chat is my LinkedIn, and the link to all of our platforms is also going to be put in the chat. So while I'm sort of giving the high level of what we're up to, you guys can sort of check out our platforms and follow along. So we have a tremendous opportunity to build a business media network ran by athletes. So what we're doing is partnering with high-profile professional athletes to create a holding company of podcasts and athlete-driven newsletters that are covering different topics of business: real estate, venture capital, fashion, wine, the hospitality industry. For those in LA who know sort of the media industry, you think about a Wave Sports and Entertainment mixed with the company Morning Brew, and we're a hybrid of sort of those two companies. For us, we see the opportunity here with legacy media, the CNBCs of the world. For you guys who love consuming venture capital media, you may be watching Harry Stebbings' 20-minute VC. We're saying, hey, look, athletes are becoming so influential that they're actually successfully penetrating these different industries. And what we're doing is partnering with them to create content focused on specific business topics. So it's not sports related, right? And so right now, the state of the company, we have my podcast, the Athletes and Assets podcast, where I brought on athletes from almost every major sports league to come on my show to chat about entrepreneurship. Very entrepreneurship focused. That's the niche. And so I've had athletes such as Joe Montana. We've done stuff with Andre Iguodala, Meta World Peace. Some of the biggest names in sports who are building venture funds, real estate funds, fashion companies on the side, and are teaching our audience, who is very high net worth, entrepreneurs, investors, and other athletes, tools of entrepreneurship. We've had so much success with that. We say, hey, we can actually scale this and be more niche on different business verticals and do that on the podcast and newsletter side. Think of us as Barstool for business. We have original content. We have the podcast, the newsletters, and we make money through sponsorships, events, different forms of partnerships with investment funds. We have a ton of sponsorship interest from folks in real estate, VC, private jets, jewelry companies. And so we're like, what do we do with all these companies? What do we do with all this interest? And so we're creating new media properties to be able to, one, give the world a different perspective of business through athletes, and two, help the athletes build their brand authority and help them building their businesses. So it's kind of a two-way street here.
Well, thank you for sharing, Noah. I think one thing for the group, just Noah my initial plan had been to have Noah present next month, but given some of the interest, I also wanted to give him the floor tonight to just to come in and share with the group. So I know it's kind of a brief overview, but if there are any questions for him, and we'll certainly be tracking it and following up and with you, Noah, as you continue to go. Could you speak to any fundraising that you might be looking at here for the group?
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate the support, Garrett. Seriously, we are about to close our pre-seed round. We're raising $500,000 at a $6 million pre-money valuation. We've raised over halfway, and we'll probably close within the next 3 weeks. We actually have enough money to get started. So, fundraising is the hardest part is for the entrepreneurs here, where it's downhill from here. So I thought this would be a cherry on top and a bonus to get to meet some of you guys, because Garrett has really hyped up the Angel Network and excited to be here. We have athletes from the NBA, NFL, professional tennis, who I consider friends of mine and family. So when I say friends and family have invested, it includes professional athletes. We have some pretty awesome Silicon Valley tech executives who have put checks in. For example, the Patterson family has a check in Athletes and Assets. Arthur Patterson was the co-founder of a venture capital firm called Accel, ACCEL. His family is involved. I have one official advisor who folks in the LA network may know. His name is Roy Bank. He's a Hollywood producer who produced shows such as The Apprentice, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, and helped bring The Dragon's Den from Japan and Canada to the United States. The Dragon's Den is now known as Shark Tank. Roy has been very influential and helpful in sort of building behind the scenes what we're going to expand to. One of the shows that we are going to produce is an athlete Shark Tank. And so that concept will be applied under our media network. Our official close date is October 7th. After that, it's back to building mode. Right now I'm in fundraising mode. I'm live in San Francisco. I'm happy to fly down to LA to meet anyone. Right now, currently, as I'm talking to you guys, I'm in a hotel in Times Square, and I'm couch surfing for the month because we've had so much like investor sponsorship and partnership and athlete interest here. So if anyone here in this group is in New York, happy to meet up for coffee and share more.
Let's any other questions from the group? Cam, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you because you are this you are the customer and the content creator for Noah in my opinion. What do you think? For those who
No,
know, Cam played for the Boston Celtics and briefly for the Timberwolves as well, and was a star at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
What's up, Cameron? I didn't see you on the call, man. Thanks for joining.
no, it's okay. No, it's great to hear what you've built. I want to take time to look at the deck that you put in the chat, but it definitely sounds interesting. It definitely sounds interesting. That's why I came on. That's why I turned my camera on. I wanted to hear everything you had to say because it's something that's up my alley. So I definitely want to take a look at the deck. It sounds interesting. So yeah, just look forward to learning more.
I appreciate that. You know, I may not have all the answers, but one thing we do here is get people out of their seats and get their attention. So this is we're doing some interesting stuff, regardless if angels are interested or not. So I really appreciate that. And Cameron would love to learn more about yourself, obviously off camera. That link I set is not a deck; it's our public stuff. So you can like stalk us, browse us. I do have a deck. Happy to send it. I figured today it would just be cool for you guys to get to know me, right? Because it's pre-seed round. It's like I can show you the best deck in the world. At the end of the day, you're taking a bet on me. All you guys met for the first time today on Zoom virtually. So I've had the privilege of meeting Garrett, but so that was my thought process there. So happy to connect later, Cameron. Thank you.
All right, sounds good, Noah.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, we're right at 6 o'clock. If there's a burning question, someone chime in. Otherwise, we're gonna get back to the more formal presentations. But no, appreciate you joining. I'm looking around. Anyone hand? Okay. Well, sometimes folks like to just ask questions in the chat. So Noah, I ask that you stick around just for a few minutes, and I'm sure you get a question or two coming through that route. And
yeah, and also I did put my email in the group. That's I'm happy to email, LinkedIn, happy to connect, however you guys want. So I appreciate it, Garrett.
I appreciate you making the time to join us tonight. And we'll certainly as things grow, continue following up and definitely going to take a look at participating ourselves as well. So thank you very much for that. All right, guys. Well, we our next up is I got to give Hunter. I think Hunter's on the call here. There's Hunter. Well, I gotta give a shout out to Hunter, because he's become since joining our fund and participating in these monthly meetings, he's become a deal sourcing guru here on the Sum team, and he was the one who initially brought us Plant Switch, which is recently received over a 3x markup. That's in about a year after we invested, which was great. And he brought us another startup and another Dylan tonight. So you know what, Hunter, rather than me stealing your thunder, why don't I let you make the introduction for Dylan? Because I'm really excited about our next opportunity we get to talk about. But before you do, I will touch on one thing that I think is important. And that's after Hunter made the intro, one of the things that stood out from Dylan, besides the large market size and the pain point that he's solving, was one of the things I look for, especially in early stage, are founders' personal connections to pain points. I think anybody here who's been an investor for long enough or has been an entrepreneur themselves knows that founding a startup is far too difficult a task unless you really are in love with what you're doing or really believe in it or have a personal calling to solve a problem. And when I spoke with Dylan, that stood out. The way in which he expressed the problem he's trying to solve that you're all going to hear about tonight, I think will resonate with all of you as well. And I think he's the right man for the job. So Hunter, why don't you finish off the intro here, and I'll be quiet.
Yeah, I'll speak a little bit less about the product. So let Dylan go ahead and pour that. But Dylan has kept this a very good secret from me for a period of time. He's always been a fantastic resource. He seems to know everybody, and he's got a great networking aspect to him. But also, like Garrett mentioned, he hit the nail on the head. He's got a fantastic story. There's a reason for everything, and he's done everything right. Fantastic friend. Thank goodness for Cameron for the introduction for that as well. And so it goes full circle. We've all actually made a fantastic network with the group here. So thank you, Garrett, for introducing me to Cameron, and Cameron for introducing me to Dylan. It's been a fantastic opportunity, and it's pretty circular in how we've managed to be able to discover this and be the first to know, because Dylan and I have become great friends, and now he's launched this Lex Fund, and I'm sure he's going to have plenty of questions after the fact. I have a few questions for him too. I've been waiting to ask. So really looking forward to it, Dylan, and thanks again for hopping on with us.
Yeah, thank you, Hunter. And thank you, Cam and Garrett. Really excited to show you guys what I've been working on. So I'll just share my screen here. Let me know when you all can see this. Good. All right. So this is Lex Fund, the first U.S. marketplace for the multi-billion-dollar litigation finance industry. So first, what is litigation finance? So it's a concept of when a plaintiff can't afford their legal expenses, they will go to a litigation fund who will actually put up the money for the expenses in exchange for a portion of the payout. So this helps to increase access to justice and level the playing field. So not many people know this, but litigation finance is actually a full industry, and there are litigation funds that purely make these types of investments. And there's $15 billion under management across these litigation funds in the US alone. As you'll see on this graph, there's a growing spread between the assets under management and capital deployed, which shows that a lot of these funds have more dry powder that they're looking to deploy, but have issues, finding these opportunities. And there's tons of people out there who have meritorious claims but just can't afford the legal expenses. And there's tons of funds looking for deployment opportunities. So there's a massive disconnect. And I'll get into that in a second. But the keynote topic of discussion at the International Legal Finance Association conference earlier this year was how to increase access to deal flow. I actually just got back today from the other conference, the other large one for the industry. That was 3 days long, and that was, again, one of the top topics of discussion. So the reason this is quite an issue is because the sourcing process is extremely old school. Phone calls, emails, warm introductions, it's a total mess. a lot of time gets lost just reaching out to people, trying to find the capital that's out there, and a lot of these funds trying to find these meritorious claims. So that's why we created Lex Fund. Right here. Yeah, the single platform connecting lawyers and litigation funders. Very straightforward. Attorneys can upload the information once. They can also, of course, filter or toggle by how much information they want to show. Then it gets shown to the existing funders who can browse in their feed, filter by their own investment criteria, organize cases. And we're also, a lot of this stuff is already built and we'll be launching actually in the next few weeks to a month. And we're just doing the last integrations, including, one-click NDAs, uploading custom e-sign agreements through DocuSign, processing the payments. So everything all in one place to do these deals. This is just one of the interesting things is, so patent litigation is actually about 20% of the industry. So we integrated a patent search. That was a piece of feedback we got from a lot of these funds, just making it very easy in one place to see that, to look at, prior patents relevant to a given case. I just included that because that's one part that a lot of the IP attorneys especially really like. And then now a little bit about the business model. Very straightforward, free to use, 2% transaction fee upon capital deployed. So in the industry, they're brokers for litigation finance. They'll charge between 2 and 10%, which is quite a big range. But that's because a lot of these deals are very bespoke. The majority fall into 3 to 5% range. So we chose the low end because this is really a volume play. And it's free to use and free to join because, of course, with the network effect for one given user, as there's more users on the other side, the product just gets more and more valuable for them. So these are just some highlights from conversations since we've been developing the product. At this point, we've actually demoed it to about a quarter of the industry in terms of assets under management. And those are all the C-suite executives or founders of these funds, because our goal is to go also top down to cut through the red tape for people joining. So demoed it to a quarter of the industry already, spoken about it and gotten it in front of a lot of the rest of the industry as well. So I've been building out the wait list. So right when we push it live in the next few weeks to a month after we finish the final QA testing, we have critical mass so that for both sides, kind of very instantaneous, everyone's on, and it'll just continue to grow at that point. So just a little about the Lex Fund team. So myself and Michael, my CTO. So I really have well, obviously, the market is very big and growing, but for me, this is very personal. So I lost my father to a non-genetic cancer last year, March of 2023. The doctor said they think he was exposed to some carcinogen because it wasn't genetic, but we don't know what. And there are so many cases out there when a company will get caught knowingly putting a cancer-causing chemical in their products. And even when they're caught, it's very expensive to go up against them in court. And a lot of times justice isn't served. But one of the cases where there was a big settlement that really stuck out to me was the Roundup lawsuit, where they knowingly put cancer-causing glyphosate in their weed sprayer. There's stuff with red dye number 40 and a number of other scenarios. Also, while he was going through chemo, and then after he passed, the insurance companies were giving my family a very hard time getting what we were owed, especially after my dad passed. My mom, was really fighting to get what she was owed. She wasn't in the position to bring it to court. The legal expenses could really add up. She had just lost the love of her life. So it was really upsetting for me to see this happen and to feel really powerless. So I was reading online a lot about just what we could do. And that's when I learned about litigation finance. And it seemed perfect as a concept. But I realized I had never heard of it. I have a background in finance. So I was at Wharton undergrad, did finance and entrepreneurship, started a financial literacy nonprofit, which I'll get into in a moment. But it sounds like not many people have heard about the industry, and it's really hard to find the funds out there. If you do Google searches, they have very bad SEO. And I started to realize, I also know other people who have had meritorious claims and that they didn't pursue just because of legal expenses. And I think a big part of that is it's very hard to find those litigation funds. So that's when I started to get to work and see what we could do to kind of address this issue. And so I'll get into that in the next slide in terms of the timeline for that. But a little background on myself before this. So I'm a repeat founder. co-founded a financial literacy nonprofit as a freshman in college, scaled that nationally. And to date, yeah, we've impacted 2,700 students across 43 high schools. We have hundreds of active volunteers, partnered with a lot of large financial institutions. As you'll see on the slide here, a lot of the big players in the space. We also hired full-time staff, so raised a lot from these financial partnerships to actually bring on the full-time staff to institutionalize it. So I still co-chair the board and oversee it, but focus my time on Lex Fund. But this kind of speaks to my background in being able to see a problem, get started, but I didn't have any background in financial literacy education as a freshman. So my co-founders and I, just spent a while learning about it and assembling the right team of experts, starting with just an advisory board with people from finance, financial media, government, all these other different angles. Read through a lot of studies, interviews with people, and just constantly iterated and built it out over the years. And then, Michael as well joined. He started initially just as like a side project for him as a consultant, but he really fell in love with the mission and is now CTO. He has really extensive experience in the software engineering space. And so this is the team now. And obviously, post raise, we're going to be looking to bring on people with experience in the space in-house to really help institutionalize and grow this. A little bit about the timeline. So as I mentioned, spend a while just talking to people in the space, spending months getting in front of attorneys and litigation funders to learn about their pain points and what they would want to see built before putting pen to paper and even designing something. We want to find exactly what the problem is, the issues with the sourcing, and then how we could build something to address those needs. Had about 100 discovery conversations, started building out the MVP, demoed it to some of these funds. Like I mentioned, a quarter of the industry already is on our wait list. We've since also brought on Brown Rudnick as our law firm. So they're one of the leaders in the space. They host the annual conference in London for global litigation finance. They also represented Johnny Depp against Amber Heard, which is a fun fact that I like. So they're really good at what they do, and they're the right people to have in your corner. And they've helped us navigate the ins and outs, especially because this is a niche industry. Currently starting to build out an advisory board as well. Also for some traction, we just found out yesterday we got accepted into the Plug and Play Accelerator based out of New Jersey. So that's also going to be really helpful getting just constant mentorship to grow. But yeah, like I mentioned, next few weeks to a month, we'll be actually launching, just doing the final QA testing. We also have some really interesting other stuff in the pipeline. And so I'll go back to this. So like I mentioned, some interesting stuff in the pipeline. As you see here, this only covers the first phase 1, phase 2. So getting all these funders and these attorneys on the platform to create the marketplace. But once they're all on the platform, there's a lot of stuff down the line that we can do and roll out additional verticals now that we have them on. So those following phases are going to really depend on, we have a list of a few things that we're looking to attack and are building out the framework technologically. So it's very easy to roll out. But the order of events is going to be based on user feedback and what they really value just from ongoing conversations with the users once they're on the platform. A little bit about the raise. So the goal is really to bootstrap this until launch. Myself ended up, just taking in a tiny bit from family and friends so far, just about 50K through a safe, but gearing up to do the big push. Started to float it in front of some angels and family offices mostly, so that when we do go live, we'll just pretty much close it out pretty quickly now that it's on a bunch of people's radars, but wanted to show it to some just close family and friends first. So I showed it to Hunter and he set up the conversation with Garrett, and here we are. So thank you, Hunter, and thank you, Cam, as well for introducing us initially. And yeah, here's just some of the FAQs. So we don't have to go through this, a lot of text. Some more about the platform integrity, even in terms of the payment processor we're using. That's based on a lot of the conversations we had with these funders. We use Orem.io instead of Plaid or Stripe. Plaid and Stripe, as an example, they go into your bank account and they can sell user data. And the funds and attorneys really value privacy. So Orem does the KYC, KYB, AML, and only looks on the outside of the bank accounts. But this is the stuff that when we work with these attorneys and these funds and they really want to look in depth, this on the privacy side makes them feel very comfortable. A little bit on just the competitive landscape here. So there's honestly no one in the US doing this. The closest ones that you'll find if you look it up online, at first glance, from someone outside of the industry might appear a bit similar. Lex Shares is one that on the surface looks like it could be similar, but they operate as their own fund essentially. So they'll source cases, they'll do the diligence and underwrite, and they only do, you know, a case here and there. So they'll actually do the deal, but then set up the vehicle and open it up to LPs. They're pretty much an SPV per case, but because they operate as their own fund, they charge typical fund fees. So it's only really individual LPs who go through them. No litigation funds will go through Lex Shares because then they'd be getting charged typical fund fees. So we took the approach of just doing the broker fee essentially. Lexolent is something that is starting to try to do this in the UK, but they're UK based only. They also have a bit higher fees. They also run their own fund. So they only place things they pass on. So a lot of the funders and attorneys don't really like that. And I think, yeah, I sent over the slides, so feel free to circulate that. You can look in depth for each of these. And some more of these other conversations here. One big one is the Legal Funding Journal. It's the industry's largest news source, and I've gotten to know the guy who runs it. So we'll have a story running and put out to the entire industry once we launch and onboard the first funds. So that way we can show the traction, and then at that point it's kind of just the flywheel effect. So that is the end of the presentation. It was a bit longer than I was expecting, but happy to open it up to any questions here.
Great. Well, thanks, Dylan. Questions from the group?
I got one for you.
Yeah.
Was Lex Shares, is that like an inspiration? What's the connection there? Do you know them? You mentioned,
yeah. So when I initially was doing some searching and looking for like a litigation finance marketplace, I came across Lex Shares and I thought it did sound pretty interesting. But then I spoke to people in the space, and yeah, they all said, you know, none of these funds really want to go through Lex Shares because it's fund fees. I actually met the former CEO of Lex Shares earlier today. Either today or yesterday. The last few days are a blur for me, but earlier today at the LF Dealmakers Conference. So he left. He's actually working now at CIMG, so Consumer Attorney Marketing Group. So met with him and his business partner there. But yeah, they're a bit different. They now market for cases or for law firms that already have essentially like mass tort cases, helping to market to find plaintiffs to join their cases. But they also have portfolios that they're looking for funding for, and their goal is to get, you know, they're at that conference because they want to get in front of these litigation funds to fund their portfolios of mass tort cases. So they're one of the sides, essentially the attorney side, that will be joining the platform once we go live. So we just added them to the wait list too.
There you go. One more question for you, and I'll let the floor go for everybody else too. Sorry about that. Can you kind of speak on like the long plays a little bit more? I know you had mentioned the phase 1, phase 2, but there's also some alternative, you know, potential, right? Just kind of speak on that a little bit more.
Secret.
No, it's a secret.
No, there's a lot of good plays in the pipeline. So one is getting the so people who don't have attorneys yet, getting connected to attorneys. So typically funders like to interact with the, you know, once a plaintiff has an attorney engaged, the funder likes to interact with the attorney because when they do the diligence, they know the right questions to ask, they know the types of evidence to look at, and it's easier for them to value the case. But there are funders that will invest in cases before there's an attorney. So they'll interface directly with the plaintiff. They say, you know, it looks like you have a lot of the evidence on your side. We'll put up the money and also connect you to an attorney in our network who we really trust to win this case. So it's kind of all across the board in terms of stage of investment. So right now it's just for the attorneys to upload cases. And we're doing that because, at least for the start, we want to make sure everyone on the platform is only from pre-approved domains, whether it's a pre-approved law firm domain or fund domain. But then we are going to add the aspect for plaintiffs to upload cases as well. And then the funds, that's just an easy filter to add for the funders to filter by whether they have an attorney engaged or not. But that then ties into plaintiffs who don't have an attorney can upload their information, get connected to an attorney kind of through a bidding process, and get it funded all in one place. So the very, very long-term strategy and how we get there will definitely, you know, iterate based on how this evolves. The very long-term play is if you're in a position where you've gotten taken advantage of or you have a meritorious claim, you don't know where to go. you don't have no attorneys, you don't know how to get funded. You upload it on this platform, you can get someone who you can trust to represent you, and you don't have to worry about the payment.
Hey, Dylan, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Nice job. Could you talk about the revenue projections and when you think you might be profitable, as well as kind of the total addressable market for your solution?
Yeah, so in terms of profitability, we have very minimal overhead costs. Most of the costs are one time for launch. Then it's really just, the only ongoing ones are our payment processor is $1,000 a month, web hosting, stuff like that. 10K annually for Vanta, so that this is setting us up. Vanta is helping us get set up for SOC 2 and ISO 27001 verification for very secure file sharing. Then other than that, it's kind of just, the salaries for myself, my CTO, and then bringing on the, someone with experience in the industry in-house. So profitability, I mean, if you look at the numbers, let's say 2% on transactions, let's say we capture 5% of existing transactions and the market doesn't grow at all. The market's been growing rapidly. In the past 4 years, it grew, I believe 60% is the number. Yep. Yeah, past 4 years, it grew 60%. So even assuming the market just completely stops growing, we capture 5% of transactions. That's about 2.7 million in revenue. Now, something like this will also drastically increase the number of deals that get funded. So what we're looking at here, these are deals that have been funded despite the despite the inefficiencies in the sourcing process. So adding something like this, not only for existing deals, makes it easier for an attorney to shop it around and get faster, but also for someone who doesn't have these relationships or have a way to get in front of funders. Currently, the situation is they just can't get the case funded. It's over. They'll now get it funded, and the number of deals and the amount of deals will likely go up. It's very hard to kind of project how much the industry will grow as a result of this. But yeah, so just some of those numbers for at least should hopefully provide them insights on capturing the existing market. And then what was the other part of your question?
Yeah, what's sort of the range of revenue you might expect to do in next year and the year after?
Yeah, so I have on a different deck just a breakdown. Give me 1 sec. I can pull that up. All right, so this just has some of the stuff for the longer term business plan, but here's a breakdown of if we want to toggle. So if you see here, this is if we want to toggle the transaction fee amount. So we've gotten feedback that 2% is actually a bit low, but I think we do want to stick with. We probably want to stick with that, but as this evolves, and if all the deals do go through this, we do have the more market power to change that. This also shows the percent of transactions captured. And this is the annual transaction revenue in terms of millions of dollars. But also, as you see here, this is for only cases that have already been successfully matched despite the inefficiencies. So it's likely the market will grow. So this is kind of an analysis if you want to look at the different scenarios.
Yeah. So go. Oh, we might have another.
Oh, Garrett, no. Yeah, I just had a question. Dylan, thanks for that. And I'm sorry about your father. So I'm not familiar with this space, but do you foresee any regulatory hurdles or challenges in the future with this business?
So the team at Brown Rudnick has kind of really dug into everything and made sure it's very clear that I do not need to be a registered broker dealer. We're not an RA.
My question was, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if they do eventually roll that out, then we'll just become a broker dealer. But that would take a while. They haven't even looked into that. So even right now, they're actually looking at the number one topic of discussion for regulatory reasons is mostly the disclosure aspect. So there have been whispers that the government, it's a state issue currently, but that they will require mandatory disclosures for where the funding comes from. Because believe it or not, if a case is funded, it actually does not need to be disclosed, other than in Louisiana most recently and Delaware. I do foresee down the line there probably will be disclosures, but that's the main focus right now for regulatory. No one has even talked about this being considered a security or needing to be a registered broker dealer. But if there are whispers of that, or if they start looking into it, we'll make sure we're adequately set up to continue with that model.
All right, one last question, and I'm going to grab this last one, and you can take the rest of the questions over in
Quick
chat.
question, Dylan.
Oh.
Have you already filed for a patent, and what kind of patent are you seeking?
Yes, so filed a provisional patent, so that buys us about a year to engage. I already have the right patent attorney lined up, so that would be one of the part of the use of funds from this raise. It's very difficult to patent a marketplace, especially since the 2020 or 2014 Alice ruling. But you know, when I engage this patent attorney, or there's a couple others that I've met who are very top tier, especially at this recent conference, they'll be able to kind of dig in and see what is patentable or not. But I do have the provisional patent for now that buys me that time. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Yep.
Great. Well, you know what? I'm gonna ask a last question. And we touched on this a little bit the last time we spoke, Dylan, but I think it's good for the group. You know, the way the market is today, there are funders that are partnering with law firms in general, and they sort of have existing relationships in place. Can you speak to the stickiness of the platform and what's going to keep someone coming back to your marketplace over striking a relationship directly with the firms and taking the transactions off platform?
Yeah, so if you're an attorney and you've already, let's say you've connected with someone through this platform, and then so there's two parts to that question. So first is for the initial case, what keeps you on the platform? So there's a couple parts. Both sides have to agree, and they're legally obligated to provide us that 2% transaction fee if they are connected through the platform. Both sides who agree to that are attorneys. So you're either an attorney, or all the funders are pretty much former attorneys, because what they look at is a lot of legal analysis. And they're very risk averse, so they'd have to both be willing to breach contract and take that risk, knowing that also if they're caught, not only are there repercussions in terms of interest owed to us, but also the potential of being kicked off the platform. The industry is also very reputational. So if a broker is cut out of a deal, word spreads and people don't really like working with that person on the other side, especially because if you're dealing with high stakes negotiations, you want someone who sticks to their word for one of these types of financings. So that's for using the platform for the given case, staying on the platform. Now, as you mentioned, once they're connected, they've done this deal. Now they know this person. Let's say an attorney has another case they want funded. Theoretically, they could go directly to that other funder. But if I'm an attorney, I have another case, I could now start building out a list, manually reaching out to all these people, or I could save the time and still shop it around and get a more competitive offer by just putting it up once. And the competition and the funding or the extra money I would make likely from getting a more competitive offer likely outdoes the size of just shaving off the 2% and going manually to a couple of the few people I know.
Great. Hey, thanks so much for your time, and to Hunter and Cam for making the introduction here. Please share contact info. You've heard the drill, and stick around for a few, and that'd be great. And Peter, I didn't get a chance to welcome you. I don't know why your face was on my second screen here. Thanks for joining tonight, and great to have you on. All right, we have our fourth presenter this evening is a special request that I made to someone you've seen on a number of these calls before, who's been involved and supported a handful of our portfolio companies over the years, as well as being an active investor and someone I consider a friend too. And Tammo Mueller is going to get to share instant action tonight. And the reason why I asked Tammo to bring instant action in front of all of you was, one, I would say there's a decent chance that we'll participate in investing in instant action in the future. Although he is not currently raising capital, I believe the solution and the tools that he's built are going to be relevant to a number of you and a number of your portfolio companies. And I think that there's a good chance in the future, when terms are outlined, that we'll want to have him back and explore an investment as well. So with that, Tammo, I hand things over to you to take it away.
Hey, thank you so much, Garrett. Let me share my screen with you. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Great. So thank you so much, Garrett. And you know, thank you for having me tonight. Even though, as you and I know, we were pretty busy throughout the day, but I got some slides ready, which is mainly a merge of our sales deck and a few investment market related slides that I've added here. So what is Instant Action? It's a video based platform that is really focused on conversion. And the market that we're playing in is what we call the direct message marketing market. I mean, direct message, I think we all know SMS as a form of direct message. We know WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, all these apps that, I'm personally, even though my company is in the space of product development for Instagram is one of our clients. We work with Siemens and other large companies. I personally do not use much social media. I always feel that I'm putting in more than I'm getting out of it, personally. So every year we decide as a company whether, beyond working for our clients, we also want to place a few bets on technology ideas that we have internally. And so we pick 2-3 products on projects every year that we want to put some money behind and incubate. Instant Action is one of those. 2 years ago, we started identifying really a void in the market. One of our clients is now the largest marketing and loyalty platform in cannabis. They send out every year over 100 million text messages. And when you think about text-based messaging versus the richness of social media, it's really a user experience desert. There is, plain text, there's maybe a link, and that's pretty much it. When you click on one of these links, you will have noticed that you're taken to a site that may be deemed, mobile optimized, but it's loading horribly slow, and you see skyrocketing abandonment rates on mobile on these sites. So what we've identified is that if we can bring the richness of social media and the emotion that the videos on social media give you, and combine that with conversion in the moment actions and buying, we really have a good solution that we can sell, number one, to our existing client, which operates this marketing platform, but also to the market as a whole. As you can see, in 2015, the market was, and this is just for SMS-based marketing, around 2 billion, and we're now approaching 12 billion in terms of budgets for SMS. These SMS that you see here are actually taken out of my personal SMS feed. These are the ones that I'm receiving. I'm sure you're receiving similar ones and more. So who are we, and what is it that we're doing? As I mentioned, we have created a way and a technology to create a very rich user experience in text and direct messaging. And that starts with sending out a link that can render in this rich way that you see here, and that is really trying to get users to click on it and to engage with it. And there's no app install needed. But what we have when you click on it, it's based on what we know, the fastest loading video experience that you can find on the net. And it opens like an app. It opens instantly. And it's someone that is directly talking to you and asks you to take a specific action. And then we have one button that shows up that allows you to take that action. So we really take the cognitive load out of these very complex websites that you usually taken in front of. And the type of actions that you can take with us is a simple, making a donation, registering for an event, downloading a coupon. It takes you to one of their, let's say, booking sites of your hotel. And so the other piece that we are combining with that is analytics. Text messaging does not have any analytics. People will tell you that the reason that they use text messaging is because it has an open rate of 98%, because everyone, whether they want or not, sees that text message. But That's pretty much it as a statistic. What we do is we give you really rich analytics around the content that you put in front of the user. And it allows you to have a really data-driven approach to marketing. So what I want to do right now is show you what an instant action looks like, give you a little bit of a platform overview, and then we can hop back into the presentation. So for that purpose, I will stop sharing my screen here and will start sharing my phone. Here we go. So as a matter of fact, I told Gary I was joining late because we had a pitch meeting with the Grand Sierra Resort in Reno to use instant action. They have around 46,000 recipients that are communicating with that they are communicating with on a monthly basis via text messaging. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what I presented pretty much an hour ago to them. So imagine you receive a message, and instead of it just being a plain text message, it opens up like this, and you can click on it. So as you can see, we have one action in this case integrated. It's to book a stay at that resort. I can click on it. And in this case, the booking page opens right in the instant action, and I can choose a date, and I can make my booking right here. When you try to do this flow through their website, even though this is their embedded website, it will take you 6-7 clicks to actually get here. And they really like that experience over what what they have currently in place. Another one that I can show you is related to, let's say, booking a ticket. Apparently, there is Walker Hayes, who I have no clue of who that musician is, playing at their resort.
What's up, y'all? Walker Hayes here. Reno, let's go. I'm going to be at the Grand Sierra Resort and Casino September 27th. Y'all get your tickets now. Come on out and see us.
I click on it, and we actually take the user right to Ticketmaster and let them make the reservation there. We have different type of actions. It's not just what I've shown you, the integration of a booking site or linking you to a third-party website like Ticketmaster. We can boost Google reviews for you. I will show you what that looks like in a moment. We can help you facilitate donations. As you can imagine, we are working quite a bit with political campaigns at the moment. They are sending out text messages at a clip that is impressive. So we told them that we can demonstrably increase engagement by 25%. And when you think about just from a pure economical perspective, you're already spending a vast amount of money on buying text messages. If you can spend a little bit more but increase engagement by 25%, that's a no-brainer for most to really do that. As I've mentioned, through coincidence, cannabis is a market that we are playing in simply because of the history that we have with one of our clients, but also because cannabis uses text messaging as one of the few ways to conduct marketing. They can't advertise on Facebook, they can't advertise on Google because it's not legalized at a federal level. So as I mentioned, this platform is sending out 100 million, over 100 million messages a year. What they need is really, and just going a little bit in depth here, because it's not federally legal, carriers will filter messages once in a while. If you mention cannabis in a text message and you're sending it to, say, a friend of yours, there's a good chance it will never make it because the carriers will intercept it and will filter it out. We have just been approved by the carriers as one of the few platforms that is has a workflow, a process in place that will allow them not to filter those messages when people use instant action. So that is pretty exciting news for us. I can show you what that looks like. So in that case, you open up the instant action and there is a form that asks you for your age. I can just enter an H here that will pass. And now you have access to this content. What we can do, as I said, beyond our ability to do redirections, we can dispense digital coupons, for example. We can put them right in the wallet. We're about to do an integration with the largest POS vendor in the space. So finally, dispensers can have end-to-end attribution of issuing coupons. And that is something that's very exciting to them. Also, I don't know whether you're aware, but the moment you enter and issue coupons into the wallet, be it Google or into the Apple Wallet, you can actually have this coupon pop up as you are getting closer to the location, or you can have expiration settings around it, which dispensers find very exciting. What does it look like from a platform perspective? It's really easy to create these instant actions. This is what the platform looks like. We're working with nonprofits. We're working with a lot of retail. And what I want to show you is, I can just go into the platform, create an instant action for a portfolio company that is Clear Club. Go to their Instagram. As you know, these companies usually do not want to produce yet another piece of content. So what we can do is we can just take any content from social media, be it on TikTok, be it on Instagram, or be it in other channels like YouTube. You can pick the action that you want to drive. Do you want to boost reviews? Do you want to do something else? I can just paste the link in here. That is the Instagram link. And what's going to happen is we will be able to take the content from Instagram. And now what's going to happen is as I said, with the fastest loading video experience that we are aware of on the web, that is conversion focused, we're crunching the video in such a way that it will always load perfectly. Irrespective of you're in a low bandwidth situation, there will be no buffering, no waiting. And the moment that is done, it's going to show up here in the preview, and you can see that we now have the message that you want to send out. This is the video. You can set, let's say in the case of Clear Club, we can do this redirection to their sales page. Let me do that right here. We want to drive web traffic, save it, and that's it. I can send it to myself, and we can start with the engagement. It's really fast, which is the other thing that the clients love. Coming back to the presentation here, how do we charge? We charge on a per message basis. Our idea is that we increase engagement by 25%. We want to do it on a per message basis. So we have two models. One is on demand. It's an incremental spend on what you're already doing with your texting, which is 1.5 cents for one SMS and one recipient for an instant action and one recipient. We also have an unlimited model where we bill you monthly. You tell us what your list size is. We charge 3 cents per recipient, and that's pretty much it. There's a simple example that we show on what that looks like. We also have a relationship with a text messaging company that we own 50% of, and we can also send out messages if needed. We do that primarily in politics right now. Wrapping it up, we made 2 key hires. One is Christy Wilkinson. She is sales in the hospitality business. She was until recently the communications director for the Sam Brown for Senate campaign in Nevada. We hired her away. And then we have Hector Villagrana, who used to be the chief of staff for Lisa Hernandez, who's running the DNC in Illinois. So he's helping us on the Democratic side, government sales. On that note, we are, for example, currently we're already close to POC for doing a vaccination campaign for HHS. and they want to give us that entire business. As you can imagine, that's fairly substantial. We have integrated into Lynx Bio that gives us access to 100 million messages a year, and we are incrementally upselling those with their sales team. I mentioned that we are one of the few approved solutions. It turns out that unions love us. We have been talking to the IBEW. They have 900,000 members that they need to communicate with on a constant basis, and they want to show them what they've been doing for them, and they feel instant action is a great way to do that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I have.
No, thanks so much for sharing, Tammo, and thank you for using some portfolio company, Clear Club, as the example there. And we're excited for you to work with more of our portfolio companies as we go. I'm very biased, admittedly, but so I will open this up to other folks who have any questions.
I have a quick question, Garrett.
Sure.
So Tammo, thank you so much. This is really interesting. My only sort of curiosity would be, there's so many AI marketing tools that are, arising. Is there any threat that you have with these AI powered marketing tools?
Well, I think the AI powered
whatever that means as well.
Yeah, I would split it in good that you mentioned that. I would split it in two separate areas. I think there is the area of being smarter on the targeting side. I think when you really think about AI being able to infer just based on a few data points, what are potential other areas that this consumer may like, that's really not the market that we're playing in. And then there is the generation of content, potentially. We can obviously use that content. I was actually thinking about, there's Living Pop-Ups, which is another Sun portfolio company, to have one of the avatars in the instant action that someone can talk to as this is being sent. So I'm currently exploring that. Is there a potential threat? I guess so. What you should know that our company, Quantiva, is doing all the AI work for the Getty, for we're working with NVIDIA. So I feel pretty confident that we could either counter something. The important thing here to mention is people who send out this type of content, they are going for authenticity. This is really what works. I think these AI generated pieces do not work because they don't connect with people. And I have actually one instant action here that I can show you. It's a guy in a car recording that you should get out the vote, and it's a very powerful piece, and he just did it there with very low production quality. I think these are the things that from a human level people connect with. I don't necessarily what AI would mean in that case.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. So let me play back a very interesting presentation. You're in the delivery business of texts with graphics, movies, and media. If there is any AI that would be before you deliver the text, and it's related, not generated through AI, I would imagine that what I'm curious about is, how does the system get set up? Do you set this up, or your customers set it up, or you train them to set up the format of the delivery?
So it's a self-serve platform. We are additive to what people are already doing. Right. So they are using a certain texting provider, and this is something that we found out a year ago, where we were bundling sending instant action with the message, so the message sending, which is SMS or MMS, with the instant action. And the pushback we got was, oh, we already have a vendor, we can't do that. And so what we have done is we decoupled purely the instant action from the sending. You can drop it in as a link into your existing message. And as I said, it's not just SMS or MMS. That's the form that we all know very well. There are WhatsApp groups, WhatsApp for Business. There are, there's Telegram or Discord. So there are a lot of different direct messaging. It's also called dark social because it's not that visible to most folks that don't have that rich experience that you see in social media. The other piece, and this is just something that we've recently gotten into, is even a QR code can deliver an instant action. As it turns out, we have just closed a partnership where a QR code is going to be shown on TV in their ad pods on 2 major networks. And when you scan them, it will open an instant action, say something about the advertiser, or download an app or something like that. So it's really, as a tool, we do not need to rely on SMS, but it's certainly a channel that is used by a lot of marketers.
I think you made the point adequately. Now, the setting up, I'm interested in the 2 questions. One is setting up of this. You're saying that the platform is self-serve, so your customer is actually responsible for the content that, right? That's number 1, correct? Now, number 2 is you're collecting some transaction fees. My key question is, can somebody replicate what you have done easily? Or you think you are beyond somebody replicating?
I think what we need to do is, we're first to market. I think we need to be pretty fast on getting out there and making a name for ourselves and being trusted as the delivery mechanism. What we're doing is we're aggregating a lot of data under the hood, where in some sense we could fuse all the instant actions that we're delivering in an app, and you have TikTok when you think about it, because you could swipe to the left, right, and we can serve you exactly an instant action that you want to have, which is an idea that we have in our vision roadmap, doing something like that. Can someone replicate it? Anyone with enough funds and time can do anything. We do have business process patents around this. I mean, filed. I am sure that the team that we have in place can execute rather quickly and driving adoption, to have a good barrier of entry.
The problem with process patents is the US Patent Office doesn't like process patents.
Yeah, I know I shouldn't talk to you, Raj, about these things. I know I've been heavily working with Carlos Ortiz on certain elements, but you're
patents are difficult because but my take is, so last question, end state is you will keep growing in this toll booth model, or you will sell the company and exit out of it to somebody?
It's a good question. We do see in our pipeline that revenue may come on rather quickly. So it's really a question. I think we can build this to a certain space in terms of potential exits. I think affiliate marketing platforms like Impact Radios would like this for their affiliates, agencies. I think there are quite a few opportunities where we can sell this. We already have some interest, but clearly it's too early, and there's an opportunity for us to get it to a certain stage in terms of the revenues and the profits. But the good thing is, in terms of margins, this is a high margin business. We already built out the technology. At this point, we're at the fun stage of selling, and it's great to see how people are leaning forward. I mentioned this. What's the name? The Grand Resort in Reno. They said right away they want to do a proof of concept because they feel that this is a differentiator to them, and it will increase ROI for them on their messaging.
So, Raj, I got to interject here just because we're running out of time. So, Tammo, thank you so much for sharing this. I know that we'll follow up, and we're going to have real data from portfolio companies to report and share with the group, and we'll talk more about funding needs in the future. But please also share your contact info for anyone who might want to connect you. I got to ask presenters, with the exception of Tammo, because you're not raising, this is more to Dylan and Jerome, ask if you don't mind sign off here. Thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna get now talk about you, but I have a good feeling it's gonna be all wonderful things. So and if they're not, then I'll make sure I stomp it out quickly. No, I'm kidding. We're a friendly group. So please, thank you. Round of applause for our presenters, and we'll follow up with you tomorrow. So, but the rest of the investors, please stick around. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'll give them a second.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for sticking with us, guys. I know we don't have a ton of time, but I'm gonna go around the room, and anything that just really stood out would be great to hear from you. Cal, you want to go first, please?
Well, I thought the quality was high on each of the presenters, but I need to digest this and see where they might fit in my portfolio. But I appreciate you bringing them tonight.
Oh, thanks, Cal. Vince, you want to go?
I agree with Cal. They were all pretty high quality, and Lex one was really interesting because I didn't even know what litigation finance was, and I work in finance.
Yeah, it's something I've really recently become more familiar with as well. Peter.
Yeah, all very interesting presentations. I kind of want to do a slightly deeper dive into each of them. I can't really say yes or no at this point. Tammo's presentation, this type of technology space is a little bit concerning to me, only because I'm just not that familiar. It seems like we have incredible technology that's just coming out almost every month. So that concerns me a little bit, although what he's presenting is very interesting. Lex Fund, I'm not exactly sure what his strongest moat for his business would be. I'm not sure if it's patent or some, if it's just automated brokerage type of stuff, it could be easily copied. So that kind of concerns me a little bit. Athletes and assets, very interesting presentation. There wasn't a lot of content there, so I would love to learn more about that. And then Lynx Bio, I mean, it's highly technical. We know where she is, so it's a question of whether she can act quickly to just really turn this into a potential exit for her. So I think as much as we do at this point.
Yeah. Let me stop recording, and I'll talk about Lynx Bio.